probably keep this update a little bit short just because it's already about 1 a.m. and I'm finally uploading a video that I needed to do for a while. Tomorrow I gotta make some time to film some things, and I'm gonna be quite pressed for time, but I'm sure it'll work itself out. But I wanted to reflect a little bit on how I've increased. I want to go back to focusing more on my clients. That's actually one of the things on my to-do list. And right now, I do a lot of things to try and make my clients as happy as possible. The biggest thing is you actually have to solve the problem that you promised to solve. So before you get fancy, this tends to be my issues, that I like to think of the fancy, nice to have things. But fundamentally, before any of that, you have to just do a really good job at doing what you promised to do, doing it extraordinarily well. And there's things within that. So at first, when I started focusing and doubling down on client satisfaction, I was like, okay, how can I give clients instant gratification every week or every time they speak to me? Something like that. Here's a little cookie. Every single time you speak to me, that creates a positive reinforcement loop. And so they look forward to seeing you. They create a positive association with you. That's what you want to create. And especially in the software development space, because there is so much lack of trust, because most dev agencies do a terrible job. And unfortunately, if you run a sales agency or a marketing agency, you bring in money for them. You're a revenue generating kind of function. Whereas if you're a development agency, that is ultimately, it's necessary, but it is a cost, right? So it's very hard to correlate that directly with results. And so oftentimes you also get, there's a lot of people that complain, whatever. It's really important to create that positive association between yourself and your clients, or when your clients look at you, they think good things. And it's about a year ago now that I really started focusing more on this, and that yielded so many results. I got more leads with less marketing because I just had happier clients. And the first thing was just finding ways to give more instant gratification. And then also, I don't know how to explain it, but many times I will offer to do extra things for free, which are not part of our agreement. So for example, there's a client right now that's paused their project for a little bit. We do this thing where we offer, clients can pause at any time. We're not going to charge them. This is part of being a startup, right? You need to be able to pivot quickly. And so we offer that flexibility. And they had that, and there were some bugs. And I was like, oh, let us fix those, because those should have been fixed in last week's billing. So I'm going to fix that outside of our development cycle. None of these hours will be billed of me actually fixing these bugs, or my team. In this case, it was my team. And I do that, but I do that on the back end. So I will not make that promise on the front end, but I do it on the back end because, I haven't backed myself into a corner there saying that, all bugs will be whatever. But I've also, I've exceeded expectations. The trick is, Alex Hormozy did a great thing by releasing the whole $100 million offers thing. But if you offer too much, you leave very little room to go above the line, basically. What you want to try and find, a good place where your offer is strong, but also you have the resources to jump above that and basically impress. You have to aim to impress every single time, because that's how you get word of mouth and referral. And those are the headwinds which push you, they propel you into much bigger business. And also they keep your business alive, right? And so I really started to make progress with that when I was just doubling down on how could I impress, So I started, at first it was doing some design work for them. And the thing is, at least in my case, and I'm trying to reduce this, but it depends on my clients. Some clients, for example, I did some extra design work for one client. We did 3D renderings for them. There's this tool, rotato.io. You can take some mockups, put them in, you can take some screens, put them in 3D mockup and make some cool videos. It's really low effort, but it's really cool for their marketing team, for example. We did that for them. We made a bunch of 3D renderings, things like that. And that was a little nugget, a little instant gratification that helped them. We didn't promise that at the start. We also, for example, did a bunch of designs, which we didn't promise them at the start. We did a bunch of extra documentation, which we didn't even talk about. Some we did, some we didn't. And That made them really happy. And going above and beyond like that, I've tried to repeat. Now, what you ultimately want to do as much as possible, though, is like at the baseline, also just the honesty, to be very forthright with information. There's one project which we unfortunately, like, things didn't go as planned and we failed. Like, we weren't able to reach the scope as planned, and it went way over the timeline, and we agreed to a fixed scope, so we weren't paid for any of the time beyond that. And eventually I had to say, like, listen, we give up. Like, we cannot complete this. And I've learned so much from that, and so I was like, never again am I going. Basically, it was slightly outside of our capabilities, and I thought we could figure it out, and we can, but it became too expensive to work on that project where we weren't being paid and we were losing money, where versus the other one. So, like, I've made that change, and I learned a lot from that. That was a really big mistake. But at the very minimum, you will get a lot more client satisfaction by just being more honest. I'd say the two biggest things, like being more honest, providing instant gratification as much as you can. Those two things will get you really far. And the instant gratification can come in anything above expectations, right? Anything where, like, there was a client, for example, where I knew money was really tight, and I had trusted him. I had built a relationship. I knew that he wanted to keep working with us, and so I said, listen, these two invoices we can keep for now as debt. When you're more comfortable money wise, you could go ahead and pay them. This is, again, specific to that client. For example, they didn't value design because they had done design themselves. So that didn't make sense for them. So we did this instead. Or there was another client where we just did, like, they've been with us for a while. And so we wrote off one of the invoices. And we basically said, listen, here's a week free, just because I know that you've been working really hard. And right now, for this client, money was also a bit of an issue. So there's lots of different things. The key thing is, like, think specifically what situation your client is in, and you can kind of give them a better gift, if you will. Something else I really want to do more of, I haven't quite, but writing more cards, handwritten cards. They go a really long way, just because people don't, like, most people don't get handwritten cards ever, or usually, like, a lot of the time. And it's really nice for a change to just have somebody appreciate you. And I mean these, like, don't write like a corporate thank you card. Don't write something with, like, your company logo on it. Just write something from you that just says, like, thank you. Thank you for being my client, for working with me. I admire you for XYZ reasons, and make it genuine. These kinds of things strengthen your relationship with that person. That is what keeps them coming back. And that is also what earns you some slack when, if things don't go as planned, those things earn you a little bit of goodwill that makes all the difference in the world. And if you are very kind of upfront about issues, which, like, the development space is prone to them, bugs, things like that, they happen. Oh, oops. Okay. I have to head to sleep. But yeah. Anyway, I've been thinking a lot about those things. One of the things on my to-do list is thinking of more creative gifts for my clients. I want to meet each of my clients in person. These are things that I'm working on, and those have increased my client satisfaction a lot. But anyway, that's probably, I'll call it a night. Maybe make something like a proper video on that some other time. I don't know. But for the time being, I'll call it a night. And tomorrow I have to record some other stuff, and I have one of the things I got to do is figure out what else I'm recording. Publishing. How to stop stressing, how to this and that. Too many options. I gotta figure it out. So I will see to that I film things and upload something.